Hey, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Notes from the Edge. I am your host, Lacy, and this is the place that we're having the conversations we should have been having the whole time. Guess what? You ain't talking about it. So we're gonna, and our guest today is Ephraim Herschmann. I can tell he's gonna be fun because he's already laughing. So this is gonna be a good one. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a husband, father of two. Handful. I only had one. Ephraim, educator, salesman, musician, writer, and host of his own podcast, Come Together. What a beautiful name, where he creates thoughtful conversations designed to encourage understanding rather than division. And boy, oh boy, do we need so much more of that right now.
Oh
A
yeah.
graduate with a degree in creative writing and literature, Ephraim spent several years teaching high school English. My favorite teacher was my English teacher, while also joining his family's medical equipment business, an unexpected path after promising himself he never would. Ephraim, my husband's running the family business right now as we speak after saying he never would. So, all of those experiences, and we love our guests that have had these weird little paths into what they do today. And his lifelong Jewish faith, marriage, fatherhood, and love of music and storytelling have shaped his passion for authentic dialogue. Whether it's discussing relationships, education, culture, or personal growth, he believes that the healthiest conversations are the ones that help us better understand ourselves and each other. And we're going to go back to that encouraging understanding of one another rather than create division. Ephraim, welcome to Notes from the Edge. How are you today, my friend?
I'm so happy to be here, and you make me sound way better than
Everybody says
I
that. That's
deserve. I
you. I got
appreciate
that
that,
from you. I got that from you. It's so better when somebody else says it. It's so weird to be like, I am awesome, and here's everything I have done. Well, Ephraim, you once promised yourself, and I'm opening with this question because literally my husband just did it. He's taking over. He is a mechanic by day, musician by night.
Nice.
He's been playing classical guitar since he was 5. He can play anything with strings. But he's taking over the family business. And you said you never would.
Mm-hmm.
So with your dad, and he's working with his dad too. So maybe I can get a little insight from you today. So what changed for you? And what did that dynamic teach you about family and expectations and forgiveness too?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a packed question.
It is. It
There's a
is.
lot there.
It's layered. Just
I
pick
would
one layer.
Yeah, and I would say that, like a lot of big decisions that we make, there's probably a relatively healthier place that it comes from and a relatively unhealthier place that it might come from.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And like you mentioned earlier, I graduated college. I went to Binghamton University in upstate New York, and I got a creative writing and literature degree in 2017. And
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. And it was a ton of fun. It doesn't really take much congratulations because while my friends were all studying for economics and finance and business tests, I was writing poetry and reading Shakespeare and having a great
Which
time.
can
And
be fun, but can be challenging too now. Some of those deadlines. Deadlines
yeah,
on
yeah,
writing can be pressure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure, for sure. And when I graduated, I was generally propelled by two ideas. Number one was initially a fear, of course, of, hey, what am I going to do with myself now that I have this creative writing degree? And as romantic as I am, and as much as I would love to just jump into whatever kind of creative position, I didn't really know how to get from point A to point B. And so I said, you know what, until let this be a placeholder for the time being.
Mhm.
Famous last words, of course.
Yep.
And then secondly, I
I did
really
one of those for 30 years, my friend.
there you go,
This
there
is
you
like
go. So I
it
feel a
was a
lot better about
paycheck.
that. Yeah, yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. In fact,
No.
I think that it does teach you the value, number one, of when you do get to pursue something that's meaningful, more meaningful rather, or something that's a little bit more aligned with what your biggest visions for yourself are.
Oh,
You
great
appreciate it all the much
perspective.
more, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm sure that
We
you could
we
tell. I'm sure that
often
you could
know
say
what
that.
we love by what we don't love, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Finding out by by trying different things out and crossing them off a list is totally a great way to go about things, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other hand was, my dad started this company when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. I was a kid,
Oh,
and
oh,
I had seen, and, I'm the oldest of six. And so I saw,
big family.
yeah, big family. And I saw that he was always killing himself, always hustling, always running around, always running in. And, funny thing about being your own boss, no one tells you what to do. But then when something goes wrong, there's no one to blame either. And so,
And also no one tells you what to do. That's a
yeah,
pressure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You gotta stay motivated. It has its advantages, but it certainly has its unique challenges as well.
Yeah. And I remember after I graduated high school, I spent a year abroad in Israel. And
Very cool.
and it hit me like a truck at one point. I was talking to a couple of friends and I was like, my dad has given me freaking everything in the world, and both my parents, of course. And but my, I was able to appreciate, I think, for the first time that how much work he's done. And I really did feel a great sense of gratitude and even being a little indebted. And I said, if I could participate and help give back to him, to the family, to the business, and he always wanted the kids to work with him. He happens to be a little difficult to work with, but he has his own way of doing things, of course. And so, but I really did feel that I wanted to give back. And
I want to know, Ephraim, when you reached that point, because my daughter's 24 and she's not there yet. How old were you again? Yeah.
This happened to me when I was 20. I must have had this realization when I was 20 or 19, but I was surrounded by people that I was very fortunate growing up, and we weren't extremely affluent, but we certainly were comfortable, and I had friends that one of my best friends in the world couldn't go to the high school they were in because his parents couldn't pay tuition. They threw him out. And if he and I wanted to go to summer camp, he would have to mow lawns for 6 months and then be able to and then go. And so I said, I'm so freaking lucky that I don't have to do any of this. And he never made us feel. And especially if you're an Orthodox Jew, life is extremely expensive. Tuition could be upwards of $20,000 just per kid for private school. It is mind-boggling. I mean, you have Sabbath meals or Shabbos meals. If you watch The Big Lebowski, I don't roll on Shabbos, and those are basically Thanksgiving meals every single week. And you're like, and bills
It's
rack
just
up.
money and money and money and money.
Like you can't believe. And so I said, I want to. I really, I looked around my friends, and I said, I was given I was born into an incredible family, and I want to be able to give back because I see compared to the people around me how lucky I had it, and so it was really those two. It was.
I'm gonna help my husband out and offer that perspective to him that it's a way that he can pay some of it forward to his dad, and maybe he won't be so stressed.
I can't promise that, by the way.
Because he'll be like, Dad, I know how to fix a motor. Yeah. His dad will be like, can you? He's like, ugh. And then his dad's like 70 and he'll be trying to pick up a whole transmission. He'll be like, no, I got it. And Brody's like, I got it. This is what I'm here to do. So I by proxy, I feel your pain, my friend. So you have worn a lot of hats, and we love our guests that have worn a ton of hats and taken this nonlinear path to where they are now, which is helping a lot of people. Teacher, salesman, podcast host, husband, father, musician. What kind of musician are you, by the way?
I'm an amateur musician. I'm a very amateur musician. I play some guitar and piano.
I love it. Well, I play random percussion instruments alongside Brody. He lets me make random noise with anything but drums. So I call myself a musician.
You're a musician.
Yes, I'm a musician. So what of those roles, if you can pick just one, has changed your identity the most? Or do you find, like I find, that I'm now in a place where they're all kind of coming together?
I would say I'm working towards bringing them all together. The one that's really changed, so the podcast I've learned the most from, as in intellectually and as far as exposure goes to new ideas and new worlds. I try to look at my podcast like a rabbit hole, and just anything that anyone says that kind of piques my interest, I'll order a book on it, or I'll Google, or I'll ask AI to give me 10 recommendations of experts that study this particular field. So for example, I did a really cool episode with a marine biologist and musician. And what they have in common is that acoustics underwater travels totally differently than it does on air. And so when she was able to study the acoustics technical part of music, you could communicate with animals, with whales, with dolphins, and then all of a sudden she's telling me how dolphins see sounds, and I said, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I know that they use
How cool
echolocation.
would that be if we could see the frequency
Uh,
of
we
sound?
can, we
Can we?
can.
Oh,
There's a
wait, now you're educating me. I don't even know
Yeah.
this, and we
I
deal
have
with
to
frequencies every day.
I
Can we
have to
see them?
look his name up. I have to look his name up. There's
Yes.
I was doing this rabbit hole, and there's a gentleman, I think his name is Daniel Kish, Kish, I believe.
Okay.
And he was blind since he was, I think, 2 or 3 years old. He had some kind of disease or cancer in the eyes. They had to remove his eyes, and
Oh,
he would make these clicking noises when he was a kid. And apparently, it was some kind of form of echolocation, of creating some kind of and he kind of turned this into a whole science, into a whole study. And he can, with a walking stick and using acoustics, he was able to train his brain to kind of receive some kind of feedbacks. I'm not sure exactly what the details. I actually reached out to them to try to do a podcast with them now, and I would love
that's
to learn
awesome.
about
I
this.
love it.
Like, how
Yes.
freaking cool is that?
That's
You
the
know? And
rabbit hole I will be going down tomorrow, my friend. Thank you. Isn't
yeah.
it amazing how your guests end up becoming your teachers too? I
Oh my
love that
gosh. Well,
aspect of
that's the
it.
goal, right? That's the
Yeah.
dream. And
Yeah.
I think that one thing that I've noticed, especially as I was growing up, and part of, I think that's why I was lucky enough to be able to study creative writing literature, is that there's like a romantic perspective that goes with these liberal arts, and that keeps you a little bit more open than shut as far as your
Mm,
willingness to perceive new information.
yeah.
And I realized that,
Curiosity. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so many of my friends had decided when they were done with college, they were done learning, and they're going to go on to the
Oh,
career, and they're going to do what they're going to do now. And I said, but there's so much, like, you're 25 years old. You got another like 100 years on this planet, man.
but
You're done
some of us
growing. I
are
mean, what?
built that way, and that's cool. Like I got a whole family of them. Like
Hmm.
they're gonna work, and then they're gonna do this, and then that's it. Then
Yeah.
that's it. I'm a lifelong learner. Even when I was in corporate education, I was going back to school. I didn't need
Oh
the
yeah.
degree. I was always making this six-figure income, but I was back in university, taking psychology and storytelling and back in performance and
Amazing.
yes, yes, and I had the opportunity to, be a lifelong learner in university that way, so, but I also never ended up with a degree. I ended up in corporate education
Mhm.
at 22, and, I got to go in and I would be like, "No core classes for me, no math, no science, all the fun stuff. I'm done with this. I'm done with this major now." So I would take all the fun stuff they would let me take, and then I'd be like, "Okay, I'm on to the next one." So it was a very cool opportunity. So let's talk about your podcast, all right?
Yes.
Because
Sure.
I am, as you well know, I said in our pre-podcast when we were podcasting before the podcast that I am now doing my dream job, and
Mhm.
I'm assuming that you kind of feel the same way because you've already identified your guests as your teachers too. Where did the idea of come together come from?
It's actually, there's a very tangible point. I've always been fascinated, and I always felt that part of my calling is to help elevate other people and to help share. That's something that I just always enjoyed, and the medium or the means of getting there has always been developing. So I started off wanting to do entertainment. I thought, starting from when I was in high school, I was a hopeless romantic that kept on getting dumped or rejected, and I was like, what do these words even mean at a certain point? I'm having this existential crisis after my 5,000th rejection, and I'm like, why do I think that every single word that time hear the word romantic, I think Adam Sandler walking on the beach, and I'm like, and I realized that a big part of our education is the movies that we're exposed to, and I'm like, well, if we can
Mhm.
try to portray healthy lessons and healthy values, then that could have a big impact on people. I wanted to get into the movies. And then music changed my life. And I had a period of my life where the only way I was able to make my way through the adventures I was going through and the ups and downs and the rejection and feeling lost and feeling like I don't know where I'm going and living at home and working with my dad. Oh my God, what am I doing? I hate my life. And
I said I would never
I
do this.
closed my door and I
Yes.
put on my Born to Run record by Bruce Springsteen, and I'm like, I'm gonna be free one day, and so that was like, music is an amazing means to do this too, and
It
that's
is.
why I picked up music originally, and then I was like, but you know what? Like all these things, there's so many. I'm not good at order and structure. I'm not good at following. Okay, you do this and you do that and do that, and so I was like, I got to do something I can be able to do it my own way. And then the podcast, and I got exposed to a bunch of amazing different podcasts. And I said, this is something that I can do. This has no cost to entry. I could balance this with my time. I could balance this with my family. All I got to
Have
do,
fun doing it.
and I could
Yeah.
have a ton of fun doing it. And my first
Yeah.
50 episodes were just with my friends until someone decided to give me a real shot. And then after that, it's just been snowballing, and it's incredible.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes,
So
I love
I'm the
it.
luckiest guy in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Well, good. I love that attitude. Come together, though. Why that title? Because I know
Oh,
picking the
yes.
title is everything. So why come
Yes.
together?
So come together was actually, it's funny. Politically, I've always been a little back and forth. The more I learn, the more I change my mind. and and a couple of,
Good.
what?
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what it's supposed to do for us. The more we learn, the more we change our perspective, guys. That's how it's supposed to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I look at information like placeholder information. The only thing that I kind of hold
Oh, I love that.
true is, like, I would call it religion, my faith,
Yeah.
and then the search for wisdom. But that means that you have to be willing to swap ideas in and out, and with new ideas. So most of the time, information is so again, that ties in directly with politics. The more I learn, the more I change my opinion, my mind, the more developed my perspective becomes. And a couple of years ago, when Trump got shot at the rally in Butler, I wasn't sure what I thought of this campaign. I thought it was a cultural phenomenon for sure. I thought it was really, really crazy how much how magnetic he was. And even after 10 years of the entire world essentially screaming and shouting about him, he seems to be undeterred. And then he gets shot at, and I listen to podcasts from the left and the right. I used to more often. I stopped listening to political podcasts in general now, but everyone said the same thing. This is their fault, and this is their fault. And I'm like, the person running for president of the United States got shot, and you can make a very good argument that it's because a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the vehemence, a lot of the just really this divisive language that everyone keeps on doubling down on. And I said that this is indicative of what our culture's become, and what our environments become. And I said,
we are doubling down, aren't we, on the division?
it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
I
crazy. It
love
hasn't
that
stopped.
terminology. Yeah,
And
we're
we
doubling
can get
down on
into, I'm
division.
sure, why that is or how that manifests for sure. But I said, I like, if it culminates with someone getting shot at the head, and the
Yeah.
response isn't let's tone it down, then someone's got to
Yeah.
do it. And so literally the next day, I was like, you know what? If not now, then never. And
What
I
a
just
great
jumped in it. Yeah,
answer.
thank you.
Yeah.
So
What a great answer. What a great
yeah,
answer.
yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. It was it was a profound moment. It really was, because
Yeah.
it was a moment that could have been, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's tone it down. I don't like him. I do like him. I don't care. I do care.
But let's
We shouldn't be
come
shooting people.
together.
Like, that's what it should
Yeah.
have been, and it wasn't that. And I thought, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah.
that's
I love
how
it.
it started.
I love it. Well, you have said that parenthood has taught you a lot about yourself. Boy, will it.
Oh
Boy,
boy.
will it. That nothing else could. Talk to us about fatherhood and how that's changed you as a human being.
It scared the life out of me at first.
I'm glad you're being honest.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important to be honest about that, because I think that if you're not honest about that, people will be like, well, why am I stressed out about this? And maybe I'm the crazy one, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And
It's all my fault, right? Yeah.
and that's not true. And that's not true. I I grew up with a big family. I always wanted to have a big family, and I always want, like, it's chaotic, but it also allows, in my opinion, personalities to really thrive and to really mesh. And I think that at a certain point, it's interesting. Siblings end up kind of taking care of themselves, of each other rather.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, when kids are from, after a couple of years, they can really kind of, and obviously they need their parents' guidance and they need their, their help. But it's amazing what, if you watch kids interact, even 3 and 5-year-olds, and you're like, whoa, like, you guys keep yourselves busy for hours and hours and hours. It's okay. I was terrified because I never dealt with, I'm afraid of responsibility in general. And I try to tackle that fear by taking on bits and pieces of responsibility slowly over time. and then showing myself that I could do it and jumping into the next one. And
I love
so,
that. Let's not gloss over that because it's so important what you just said. You had a fear, you didn't bite the whole damn thing off
mm-hmm,
to get through it. One, you did it
mm-hmm,
scared, right? That's important, but bite-sized pieces, right? Little at a
mm-hmm.
time. Except for the
That's
kid
right.
thing. Once they come, they're there. And then you're like,
Yeah.
I remember them handing. First of all, I was like, wow, she's really big. I can't believe I was carrying this. And what do I do with this? What do I do with
It's
this?
insane,
Yes,
right?
it is. It is. I was like, what do I do with this? And then I was an only child. She's an only child, but I was raised just differently, and we didn't hug and do a lot of it. So I had to teach myself how to
Mm.
hug this little thing. So it changes you, of course, on a cellular level, but it changes everything, the course of everything. So for you, you were terrified. I love that.
Yes.
You like to take things that scare you on. I love that. So, but what are some of the things that taught you about who you are, and more importantly, who you want to be in these moments that we get with them?
Yeah. It taught me that obviously I'm a little more selfish than I think I would have liked. Right? It taught me,
You're so honest. Welcome to Notes from the Edge. Yes, thank you, my friend.
yeah,
Thank
of course.
you. My
Again,
thing was it was so slobbery.
it's
Everything was so slobbery for
there's
like
Cheerios everywhere,
yes,
there's boogers
yes.
everywhere, there's
I
baby
want
food
one thing
everywhere.
of mine to not be slobbery. Yes, I
But
remember
the
that.
thing I
Yeah.
realized is that there really is, and this is something else. There's certain things that you can't understand, I think, until you experience them, and the love and the care that you have for your child. All the things that I was afraid of did exist, right? I was afraid for a good reason. Uh, they, but what I didn't realize was that I would be so happy to engage in those activities. Like, I'm
Yeah.
happy to change my kid's diaper. Because I'm happy to see how happy he is after that. I'm happy
Yeah.
that to wait to like if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, I don't want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm just holding this little thing in my hands. I'm like giving it a hug, and I'm like, okay, fine. It's not so bad. I'll be tired tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
we hear a lot about the negative. We learn more, but then I think a lot of the positive, because it's so intangible and it's so individualized. It's really hard for people to really express. But I yeah, and I think I learned. I'm learning a lot about what's crazy is that about myself, because my son in particular, who's 3.5 now, manifests a lot of my behavior.
It
And then I'm
is.
thinking
I
about how
like
my
that.
dad feels when I manifest his behavior. And I'm like,
It's
oh
a cycle,
no,
isn't it crazy? My
this,
poor husband, he's like, you Langley women are all alike. I'm like, I am not like my mother, and my daughter has an attitude problem. He's like, yes,
yeah.
yeah, that's the reality. So yeah, you see yourself, right?
Yeah,
And
so
then
yeah.
sometimes you see stuff, you're like, oh, that's right. I like that
Mm-hmm.
so much. You're doing
Mm-hmm.
that for me. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
yes, you definitely you are certainly reflected in
Yeah,
by
for
that
sure. And
in
then
your
and
children.
then I think finally, and potentially this is the most important thing, I think you also have to learn to give up a little bit of control, which is a big deal. And
Mhm.
you have to understand that, and I think this is the most beneficial thing that I've realized. I've actually learned this from teaching high school as well, that what well, if something works, it works. And if something works for you, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for everyone around you. It doesn't mean it's going to work for your wife, if you're a kid, if you're a spouse, if you're a partner, for your friends. It works for you, it works for you. And if someone comes to you with a different way of doing something and it seems to work for them, let them run with it. Like we feel
Oh,
like things are
yeah.
a threat if something isn't done the same way as us. We feel as if I'm threatened that that you exercise this way and it's better than the system that I do, or you eat this food and like it works out for you better than what happens when I eat this food. And like, how? And like that shouldn't work. But if it does, then it's okay. And like
It's
and it,
okay.
yes,
Yes. Yes.
yes, yes,
Don't
yes.
be rigid. Don't be rigid. And again, you're absolutely right. And I love the fact that you lead your life with curiosity. You lead your life with flexibility. I think kids help a little bit with that.
They do.
To give up some of that control and become more flexible. And you can't plan your day. You could try to plan your day, but you ain't gonna get the day that you think you're gonna have, especially with two toddlers running around the house.
Oh yeah.
So So you speak openly about your relationship with yourself. So let's circle back to that, because you just
Okay.
said, if I have a way of doing it and you have a different way of doing it, it works for you, it works for me. I support you in that it works for you.
Mhm.
How have you grown your relationship with yourself? Because I think Ephraim, for so many of us, we're even I at least in my lived experience, was scared to even be alone by myself,
Mm.
with myself,
Yes. I
right?
had to be lonely for a long time in order to really get to know myself, and it sucked. I'll let you know that. It was unpleasant, and it was painful, but and it was existential, and I wrote some of my best, saddest poetry when I was lonely.
And then look what happens, a magical family comes right around the corner after you go through that and find yourself. But I think when you walk into relationships having had those experiences,
Mhm.
you're so much healthier, because you feel who you are, you understand who you are at this moment, because we're
Mhm.
constantly evolving and changing. But let's talk to some people listening right now who may be sitting there feeling the loneliness that we're talking about, or
Yeah.
feeling the fact that, oh man, I don't even want to be alone with myself because I'm
Yeah.
scared of what I'm going to think, or what I'm going to feel, or am I going to relive that trauma or feel that grief, or
Mhm.
speak to them directly about getting through, moving through, feeling into those really lonely times, because I think there's a loneliness epidemic right now.
I'm certain that there's a loneliness epidemic right now.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely certain of it. I think you're 100% right. Um, this isn't the problem is that there's no easy answer, right? As in, like, all the solutions, unfortunately, involve, I think, from my perspective and from the people that I've spoken with that have also gone through similar challenges. Number one, a big a big aspect of the challenge is actually learning to phrase and to put into words the things that you're experiencing and feeling. So a lot of
Mm.
times, for example, and this is really important, that I've something I've found, people are not very self-expressive. Unfortunately, people like to talk, but they're not necessarily very well self-expressive. Excuse me, I'm just a little
You're
throaty.
good.
Um, and one thing that I've noticed is that before, if something's bothering me, if something's sitting in my head and weighing on me, I a lot of times it's worse when it's in my head, because these are incomplete thoughts that are bouncing around and I'm struggling with myself. I shouldn't be thinking this, or I should be thinking this, or I don't want this to get out of control. I don't want to know where this goes. But a lot of times, if I just took a pen and paper, or if I just sat down with someone and I just wrote out, today I feel anxious because I don't know if I'm ever going to make anything of myself. And then I'm like, whoa, that's a crazy thing to put on paper. But like, yeah, that is why I'm anxious. Excuse me. And and then I talk to someone about it. A lot of times, a lot of times, phrasing the issue, or articulating the issue is almost more beneficial than actually finding a solution. Because when you find a solution, there's always the next problem around the corner. So the real thing that you're going to have to figure out for yourself is how to recognize. I know, for example, when I'm not creative, I get very down. When I'm not self-expressive, I get down. So if I go a couple of weeks without writing, without doing a podcast, without talking to friends, and like not just talking, hey, what's up, but like, what's happening with your life? What's happening with your job? How do you feel about the way that you're spending your time? How do you, and like these real questions, I feel down, and like I feel tangibly frustrated, and I feel this. It's funny. I described it as like a tightness in my chest, and like I feel like a stone in my throat. My wife is like, "Oh, I feel that too." I'm like, "That's called anxiety." I'm like,
They have labels for that.
that's right. Excuse me. Um,
Oh.
and so what I say, so what I believe is the the loneliness, I think, are parts of us that are unacknowledged, not problems that we have.
Hmm.
And by acknowledging them, even if we don't necessarily come up with a solution today or tomorrow or right away,
Mhm.
A, it's not as bad as it bouncing around in our heads, right? Which is already a massive benefit. And
Agreed.
B, you're kind of understanding something regular about yourself. And so this feeling that I've had, that I've been able to identify since I was basically out of college for the last almost 10 years now. It's been reliable for 10 years and just different forms. And so I was saying, oh, I'm feeling this way. I know why I'm feeling this way. I don't know, I don't know if I want to deal with it today or not. I don't know if I know how to, if I don't know what the problem is yet, but I recognize this, and I recognize that, okay, that's what it is. And what this is what I have to do about it, rather. This would be what the next step. I think that the loneliness epidemic is very real, and in a couple of different ways. I think there's genuine loneliness, as in people don't share real relationships. And then I think that we don't have a lot of embodied experiences either, where we actually go to
Mm.
hear live music. We go to the movie theaters. We go to a bar and drink a Guinness with a couple of strangers. There are
Yeah.
certain things, there are certain experiences that we're meant to do. Human beings are
Real human
social animals.
connection. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
And there's a great guest on the Diary of a CEO, and he was talking about, I hope you don't mind, the topic of pornography, and saying that there's a general, there's a whole slate of things that the human being needs. We need emotional sharing and connection. We need physical connection, and we need a partner. We need, chemistry. And he goes, and so we have this whole appetite, and we're only satisfying one aspect of it when we watch pornography. A lot of times, if we have this appetite for being social, and we're only you're gonna itch that scratch with a text or with a FaceTime, that's not getting everything you need in there. That's not getting the body language interaction, the eye contact that's so real when you're in person and you look into someone's soul for real, for real. And
Yeah.
there's something about even a shared experience where you guys all walk out of one of my favorite moments as an American is so funny. Avengers Endgame, where Captain America picks up Thor's hammer and the whole movie theater of 250 people just explode, and they're cheering and yelling, and you don't know anyone there, and you're like,
But you're
this is the
all
best
in
thing I've
sync
ever been.
together.
And the movie
Yes.
ends, and you walk out together, and there's just this sense of camaraderie. And this is true for a baseball game. This is true for a concert. This is true for movies. This is true when you come home and you go to a bar and you meet someone at a bar, and you don't even nothing has to happen. All you have to do is just talk to someone. Hey, I used to be a policeman. Hey, I used to be a teacher. And cool.
Yeah.
And you talk to them. What were some crazy things that you experienced? Then you walk away. That was awesome. So I think
Yeah.
that I think that there's the acknowledging ourselves and learning to kind of understand ourselves, and we kind of put that aside. And then there's also the embodied experiences that gives us the best shot for community. That gives us the best shot for friendships. That gives us the best shot for future relationships. And like you said, you mentioned that you met someone that you were talking with online for a couple of years, and you met them in person. That's really the only way to get to know them. So
Yes, it is. The embodied experience. I had the full embodied experience. I did. So.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So faith for you plays an important role in your life. So how has faith influenced the way you approach relationships, conflict, and the conversations you have with other humans? And I think you and I right now are doing the best next thing to being fully embodied in front of each other, where we can see body language. And that's why I approach these podcasts, I think, a little bit differently than some other people do. This is a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how has faith changed the way you approach the people in your life and yourself as well?
Faith, it hasn't changed. It's the goggles in which I view the world. To me, it's there are certain times where people are like, okay, well, today's a God day, and then tomorrow's going to be a my day, And we're just going to go back and forth for the next 30 years like that, or 50 years like that.
Who are you leaning on today?
I think that faith, I look at everything through so I'm Orthodox Jewish, and the Hebrew word for the Bible is called the Torah. And Torah, it translated doesn't mean Bible. It means directions, or it means a guide. And what the point is that it's supposed to be a guidebook and a manual for the relationships in your life, the relationships between you and yourself, between you and the world, and between you and God. And
Yeah.
there are steps. And it's funny because there's a lot of room, I've found, at least in my opinion, from my journey, my experience, there's an enormous amount of room for the individual, but there's a structure to life, right? And there's a structure to the way that you have relationships, and there's a structure to the way that you interact with the world. And you can find your place within this structure. It's a big structure. This structure is the size of the universe,
Yeah.
and but there are general rules, and there are general things that, if like, it's funny that one of a big Jewish perspective is God doesn't need us to do anything for him. If God's perfect, God's perfect. So like, what are we doing it for? And the answer, God, has to be for ourselves. And so if I'm going to do this for myself, then I got to really apply it in every way. And I have to say, I don't trust myself, and I don't, like, I've screwed up enough in my life that, like, I don't trust like, if it comes to my gut intuition, or it comes to the several thousand-year-old faith intuition, that this collective chain that you're a part of this tradition, or this, whatever this beautiful thing is that we human beings have. It's incredible. And I trust that, and so far it's proven it's not even blind faith anymore, because if it's been successful for not only 30 years of my life, but also several thousand years of history that keeps on, that is literally almost identical as far as the scripture and stuff is concerned, then I'll take those odds all day.
Why
I'll be very
change it?
happy to take those
Yeah,
odds.
why change
Exactly.
it? I
So,
got a better way, guys. I got a better way. I love it. I love
I,
that perspective. It's the goggles with which I view life, and you don't take them off.
yeah,
That's
and
wonderful.
listen,
Yeah.
obviously there are moments where you rationalize, there are moments where you justify, but even those
And
moments,
so, yeah.
and there are
Yeah.
moments, but those moments, you know to yourself, you're like, yeah, well, they're probably not my proudest moments. They're not moments that, like, I would base my life on. It's not something that I would revolve. If I were to teach my kids in the future what to do, I probably wouldn't tell them to do that, and I'd be pretty horrified if they did that, as a matter of fact. So,
It's like I
humans are
tell
going
my
to be
daughter,
humans.
I told you I did that so you wouldn't do it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
But a lot of times
yeah,
we need to learn
yeah.
for ourselves. This is the human condition.
Yes, yes.
There's no substitute, I don't think, for self-experience, and there's no substitute for
Mm.
going through something. And you want to know. Like, there's so many things where I've laughed at them. These ideas where I've laughed at, and you're like, come on. And then I try, and I'm like, I
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I think I'm going to take your way next time.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it. I get it.
My life revolves heavily around it. I pray 2 or 3 times a day. I got this keep on my head. I practice. I practice as much as I can, and I dedicate time to studying. I dedicate time every day to. I have different study partners throughout the week. Those are also excellent relationships. There's the value of
Very cool.
having some kind of life guide, right? If you have some
Yeah.
kind of figure in your, and I think that's something else with the loneliness
Mentors are
epidemic.
so valuable and so
We need
important.
mentors. We need
Yes.
mentors, and we need good
Yes.
friends, and we need good
Yep.
community, and that is a
A
built-in.
healthy relationship, yes,
That's right.
that
That's right.
fulfills us and inspires us, and because I'm telling you, my friends, you hear me say it all the time, if our relationships are not healthy, it becomes all we can think about. It's all in a spiral, but when they're
Sure.
healthy, guess what we get to do? Go off in the world and fulfill our purpose and mission for being
Mhm.
here
Your
without
world
thinking
expands.
about them.
That's
Yes,
right. That's
it's
right.
the
That's
coolest
right.
thing. They're
Yeah.
there. We can count on them. So, yeah, but I think it starts with where you started, in those lonely moments where
Yes.
it's just you and your maker, and writing and getting it out, and then going out and taking what you learned from those moments and becoming healthier for the people you love, care about, and are in service to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can add, I also think that a huge issue that we have today, aside from isolation, is that we don't Americans in particular, but I think humanity in general has been very mistrustful of one another. and you go to the
Mhm.
supermarket and you don't talk to people in the supermarket, and you go to a gas station, you don't talk to the attendant, and you don't and and we not only do not do that, we look at everyone like they're potentially a threat. This is part of the divisive conversations. And when you
Mhm.
look, and I think that when you start to look at the world like a community, when you start to look at humanity like a community, and you start to look at us equal, in the eyes of God, and then who am I to judge anyone? Because number one, I've got my own problems that obviously I'm not perfect at, but two, God created you and me and everyone else, and for a reason. And you know what? That reason is probably a pretty good one. So I should say hello to you in the street. I
Yeah.
should say how you doing. And if someone needs help, hey, what's going on? The bystander effect is wild. The fact that, like, the more people are
Yeah.
around, the less
See?
likely someone is to help is crazy.
Yeah, it is. We are really all one. We really are. And oneness is something I'm exploring right now with
Oh
my own young
yeah,
kids
it's a lot
in
of
first
fun. It's a
stages.
lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Because
How are
I'm
you?
like,
Can I ask how you're exploring it? What
ah.
avenues are going down?
We are talking just phrases that I say, and I have an
Mhm,
altar that I go and like just visually and put
mhm,
and addiction to thinking. Right, that's
mhm.
one thing I'm playing with too. My addiction to thinking is getting in the way of me being one, right? Because my addiction
Yes.
to thinking keeps me from being present in the
Mhm,
moments I'm with
mhm.
the people that I love, care about, and am in service to. So we're looking at addictive thinking, just being addicted to the act of thinking itself, and
Mhm.
then visualizations of as soon as I have a thought, I try to let go of the thought, any thought that comes up, so that I can
Wow.
be fully present. I know this is
It's tough.
requiring some
It's 'cause
serious
we're not trained to think like that, We're trained to
no,
plan, and we're trained to have everything, every little step along the way, and
and
but
to think.
yeah, and to
Right?
overthink.
What are we
Yeah,
told? Think, think,
right.
think. Why didn't you think better? You should know better, right? So, yeah, and I have always been a thinker, an intellectual. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting just the idea of letting go of thought, any and all thought, to be fully present for my immediate surroundings first and foremost,
Yeah.
and then extending beyond there. But yeah, I have some mentors that are great at calling me out on my BS because I'm like, really, you want me to do what now? And
Mhm.
no, I don't agree that everybody's doing the best that they can with the awareness that they have right now. No, I do not agree with that. Yes, I have trust and control issues. They make a terrible combination.
Yes.
So, all right, my friend, where can we find? I have two questions to ask you before I let you go, but where can we find the Come Together podcast?
Anywhere you listen to podcasts, come together with Ephraim Herschmann, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you listen to your podcasts, should be there. I hope. I have different series depending on what I'm interested in. So I have a history series, economics, entertainment, music, health, science, whatever, and then there's also the guests that they don't fit into any particular world, and they're guest episodes, and I really have an enormous amount of fun with it. It's pretty varied. So I would say that if you want to find something you're particularly interested in, use that search button and just search, a word, search an idea, politics, country, psychology, well-being, relationships, and the episodes will pop up that are correlated with those ideas.
I love that, my friend. I love that. And I've got a friend who might have a tool for you to help you out with that. But before we let you go, and guys, you don't have to write that down. We're going to put a direct link, clickable link for you to go
Thank
straight to the podcast. Before we let you go, my friend, I have two questions for you. Ready for them?
Yes, let's hear
All
it.
right. In your own life, what have you performed in order to survive, just to survive? And what did dropping that role, mask, or performance do for your life?
When you say perform as in act in a way that I think isn't really true to myself.
Or masking or a role or a performance or something that was inauthentic. Like for me, I performed being a corporate educator as my identity,
Mm,
right?
yeah. I I don't know if there was a particular state of performance. I could say that one thing that I do have an enormous problem with is I try to bite off more than I could chew. and I end up trying to juggle like 5 different balls of priorities, and then one of them keep on falling, and I'm like, I hope it doesn't break. I hope, like, and so I used to think that being on all the time was the epitome of success and productivity, and having to learn to breathe and to be present and to slow down, like what you were describing a little bit, has been it's a struggle, by the way. It's something that I'm still struggling with, and it
Oh,
will
it's a
take me
daily
time.
practice.
It's gonna
Yeah.
take me time to get there, but I beat the crap out of myself if I'm not fully productive every waking minute of every day, and I think that's a little performative. I think that's something that I probably picked up in an unhealthy way as a value along the way,
Mhm.
and I'm working on balancing that out right now.
Yeah, me too. It's still daily practice to rest without guilt, right? I could be,
Seriously, but especially when
yeah.
you realize to yourself, you can't possibly be so productive running on 10% battery all the time. I mean, like,
No.
if you really value what your output is, then you gotta let your batteries charge a little bit,
Isn't it
and
crazy though? But we're laying there resting, beating ourselves up about we could. And I'm just like, I better get up. I'll just get up
get
and do it. Do the
yeah,
thing. Do the
I flew back
thing.
from the West Coast, from Seattle, Washington to South Florida just a couple of days ago. We didn't My kids didn't sleep on the flight there, back, or in between.
Oh, wow.
I'm sick, I'm miserable. I forced myself to go on a jog. I'm doing a podcast last night. After this jog, I'm in bed, and like I have an hour, and I'm like, I need to take a half an hour nap. I need to take a nap, and I'm in bed, and I feel the resistance in my head to sleeping, like thinking, should I do something? Should I get up? And I'm thinking to myself, shut the heck up, like, let your face relaxed, and just be. And I just took a couple of deep breaths, and I felt like you could literally feel the muscles in your face relax, and then you realize how tense you were. And I'm like, and
I
I
love that
passed out for 40
exercise.
minutes, and
Good
it
starting
was
point.
way better. It was incredible.
Start with it, and he's pointing to the right above your brow, guys. If you can
Mm-hmm.
start relaxing from there down, especially around your jaw area, you'll be amazed at the tension that you're carrying
Incredible,
there.
incredible. So I think that would be that's important.
It is important. Rest is important. Rest is needed, but always one more try. All right, my friend, what do you wish we were having more conversations about? What do you want to hear us talking more about that we're not right now?
We need to talk about, I think the most important thing is what I mentioned earlier about giving ourselves these partial experience as opposed to the really valuable ones. I think we need more embodied experiences. I think that, and what's funny is the I've exposed to a lot. I teach high school students. I have a younger family. I have younger brother-in-laws. The 20-year-olds and younger, that generation seem to be putting their phones aside, social media aside. They seem to be becoming religious, abandoning the ways of my generation, unfortunately, and in a good way.
Yeah.
And I, yeah, I think that we need more embodied experiences, and I think that we need to give ourselves whole experiences. I think that we shouldn't just settle. This could be with diet. This could be with the way we treat ourselves. This could be with the type of the way that we embody our relationships. This could be the experiences that we have. I think we need to go all in again. I think that, and we need to be open-minded and curious and excited. If something sounds weird, but it's 2,000 years old or 5,000 years old, then why has it persisted for 5,000 years? And open your mind to that and be like, that's really cool. That's really awesome. And a lot of times there's real truth behind it. And we find out that the world is way more rich than we realized. And it's so exciting and it's so much fun.
Oh, I just got chills, my friend. Embodied experiences. And you know what? You can feel truth when you
Yes. You know
when you
truth.
see
Yes.
it, read it. You can feel it head to toe. All right, you guys, I'm gonna ask you the same question, our listeners today. What might you be performing in order to just get by or survive?
Be
And
honest.
what may dropping that role or mask performance do to help you feel just a little bit lighter today? I am your host, Lisa Lacy, here with my guest, Ephraim Herschmann. And when you find the answer, we will both see you at the edge. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.